Hello one and all, this is Hybridsteel. Thank you very much for joining me in this video. Today we're going to be talking about this. This is Road Redemption for the PlayStation 4. It's in the cheap section now because it's been out for a while and I'm a little bit late to the party. But I did buy this game, now I'm reviewing it because that's what this channel's for. So without further ado, let's get it on, shall we? Road Redemption is a motorcycle combat racing video game. It was developed by Pixel Dash Studios and EQ Games as a spiritual successor to the Road Rash franchise. The game plays as a spiritual successor to the Road Rash series, the motorcycle combat racing video game. The game aims to replicate the arcade-like simplicity and silliness of the Road Rash games whilst introducing more modern graphics and gameplay mechanics. In addition to the melee weapons featured in Road Rash, Road Redemption introduces firearms into the player's weaponry. In 2009, Ian Fish, a long-term fan of the Road Rash series, wrote a blog post of why the game needed to be revived. He had intended for the blog to be a call for developers at EA to revisit the series, but following the commercial failures of racing combat hybrids such as Split Second and Blur, he believed there would be no appetite for such a game from an established publisher, so began working on his own take of the game. The game was first announced April 2013 alongside a Kickstarter crowdfunding campaign. The campaign raised over $173,000, successfully exceeded the $160,000 goal, while the game was funded for development. Okay, so like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, this game has been out for a little while. It's in the reduced section on PSN dashboards at the moment, and that reduced section is the under £9 section. This game cost me, I think it was £6.50, which I thought was bloody good. Normal price is $15.99. Now for $15.99, what would you be getting if you bought this game full price? You're getting the spiritual successor to Road Rash. Don't buy the other game. Road Rage, I think it's called. It's not as good as this, trust me. It's basically a little bit more of a weird motorcycle game, when this one is literally what you wanted when you used to play Road Rash anyway. Now, if none of you guys are familiar with Road Rash, and some people might be, because, you know, it's a gaming thing, and, you know, young people come onto this channel asking weird questions about what games watch. Road Rash basically started its life on the Mega Drive, and the Mega Drive was an old school console with 16-bit graphics, and it just basically looked like a flat screen of Minecraft. Everything was a bit pixelated. Well, actually everything was pixelated. And what we're going to go from there is how it's evolved, how it's come on from basically a pixelated 16-bit motorcycle game where you can beat people up to this. This is not bad. Basically, the game itself is a successor for Road Rash. You are literally racing from one point to another, beating people up with various different weapons, as you can see on the screen, and you're literally just getting to the end of the game. Now, unfortunately, it doesn't just work very simply. What it actually does is when you start the game, you do a couple of races, you die, you start again. And what you do is at the end of your life, every single time, you can add to those abilities in the skill tree. Now, the skill tree itself is laid out in various different ways, and each one can be powered up. I think it's 3 to 4 times. So extra health, extra weapons, more durability, more stamina, more nitro, more everything basically. And as you go through, you're going to be earning different riders and different bikes as well. So there is a little bit of variety of what you can do. Now at the beginning it does feel a little bit sort of like locked off. You've got a choice of 3 different bikes, you've got a choice of 2 different riders, and that's literally it. As you progress through the game, you are able to unlock more riders, more bikes, more weapons, all good. Now, the abilities that you'll be unlocking whilst you're playing don't stick around. Now when you've died and you have to start again, all the abilities you unlocked whilst you're going through, so like the temporary things like more nods for these sorts of races, extra health and so on, they will be taken away from you at the beginning when you restart, and then you basically start again. Now you do get the option to start at certain levels when you reach those levels. So if you get to a point where you're level 9 and you die, you can restart the game at level 9. You don't have to go through all the stuff at the beginning, which is a real godsend, because doing all the stuff at the beginning 10-15 times in a row does get a little bit laborious. But unfortunately, that's just the way this game is. Personally, when I said that it is a spiritual successor to Road Rash, I would have preferred it to be more like Road Rash, in the sense of going from one race to another, earning money, building up my bikes, building up my rider, building up weaponry and so on and so forth, and just casually going through the game genuinely. But this one, it does take the grind to a little bit of an extra level with the Road Rash style game. So, when it comes down to the graphics, vast improvement from the old days. I mean, I'm going to be honest, from a 16-bit to a PlayStation, because it did get ported over to PlayStation for 1 or 2 games. They were the disappointing days of Road Rash. This actually does feel a little bit more like the original game, but bringing it its own character. The actual characteristic of this game is just screaming the Road Rash franchise, but it brings it to its own way. The handling of the bike does feel a little bit ropey when you're going around corners too fast, and your bike does just generally fly off in every direction, especially when you hit the NOS button and then all of a sudden you just can't control it on a corner anyway. But the way to get around corners is to adjust yourself, brake a little bit, slide a little bit, all good. When it comes to the combat side of things, combat is very simple. A couple of buttons and you're smashing somebody in the face with a bit of 2x4 laced with nails, or strapping an explosive to the back of their bike, watching them blow up and throwing them into the mid-air, which is always quite fun. As you go through playing this game, there are different variations of racing. You won't just be racing to the end and being happy. In some respects, some of the challenges are literally destroy the people on the road with the targets above the head, as you can see in this one, and then your challenge is over. All you have to do is kill a certain amount of people by the end of the race, and your race is done. And then there'll be like random modes. One of the races I had to do in this was basically survive loads of falling cars from the sky, which I've never had in any game whatsoever before. Then you've got like the police chases, where you're going to be beating up on police officers sometimes, and then one of them might be a survive challenge where you're literally going to get hounded by police. Cars flying towards you, cars flying to the left, officers smashing in your head with batons, and just generally hoping you die before you get to the final. Crashing in this game is funny. It's a little bit frustrating. Like I said, it sort of doesn't work with the mechanic of the bike being a little bit loose on the road. When you're going around a corner and you've just got like a 16-wheeler truck coming towards you, it's a little bit, you know, you're going to get hurt. So you just sort of try and do the best you can when it comes to certain situations. Crashing, they did take a little bit of the ragdoll physics, but not too much in the way that it was supposed to look really funny. And that's what I sort of got a little bit disappointed with. Road Rash has always had the thing where you got hit by a car, you'd fly off into the distance, and you'd have to run back and pick your bike up. You don't do that in this, you just literally reset back onto the road and carry on riding. Now, one thing it does do is punish you if you don't meet the criteria. If you don't meet the criteria of each race, it will take 25% of your health per race. So be good at this game or you will die faster. Unfortunately, if you're a newbie to this and you're not very familiar with what you're doing, you're going to be dying a couple of times before you know really what you're doing. Don't die, all good. So the additions of firearms in this game was different. I didn't even expect it, to be fair, because I watched the trailer to it. I just thought it was just part of the joys of the game a while back. Actually playing the game and being able to shoot people is completely cool. I know it's sort of like it's violence in video games and so on and so forth, but it doesn't really make me go out and on a motorbike and try to kill people. It actually is just a bit of fun. That's what Road Rash has always been, a bit silly, a bit fun, you know, a bit of everything. Being able to shoot people and drop bombs onto people and dropping TNT is always quite fun in this game, especially when things are just blowing up all around you and it just looks really effective. Being able to shoot each other is quite different. I've never had this in this sort of game before, so it always just makes a little bit more, I don't know, it varied, which is always quite nice. Now, as you go through this game, because it is literally pretty much a survive to the finish line in any given race, there are other ways of earning money by killing certain riders. There are ways of earning extra boost by killing other riders, and there are other ways of earning extra lives, and that is by killing other riders or taking them out. That is how this game works, because there's no real way of like doing it apart from let you get to the end of a race and you have to buy more health. There's ways of doing it through certain ways. So as you can see on the screen, there's a guy with a little green thing above his head. That means if I take him out, I'm going to be getting extra money. There's other riders with like a blue thing above their head. They might be either peaceful people, which are on your team, or they might have nitro boost, or they might have life boost. So you basically watch out for the people you're attacking, because you know these people are going to have different bonuses on them as well. Watch out for other people's weaponry, because they will slug you in the face with a sledgehammer, and just generally just watch out on the road. And I'm going to be honest, apart from that, this game is pretty simple. You've just got to sort of get used to it, really. I mean, going from the days of when we used to play this on 16-bit to now, there is a lot of change, and you do have to sort of adjust to it. But, you know, most people wouldn't have even played the originals if they're under a certain age. So would I recommend Road Redemption to the rest of the public? I would basically say that if you're looking for a nostalgia trip, but you don't want to dig out your Mega Drive, blow on the cartridge, put the cartridge in, turn it on, doesn't work, do it again and again, definitely buy this game. And the reason why is because it's not that expensive. I mean, for the price that you would pay for a copy of Road Rash 1, 2 or 3, or even getting it for the PlayStation and having to buy a PlayStation and having to get that working, this is genuinely a little bit cheaper, a lot more of an easier option. And it's just one of those games where everything sort of makes sense in its own weird way. I would highly recommend this game to mainly anybody that wants to play this style of game. It's not expensive. That's the best part about it. It's not one of those games that's going to rip your wallet apart or basically do any major damage. And it does have an online mode, so there are people still racing to this day on this game. Not as many as it was when it first started, but they are still there. Okay, so thank you very much for joining me in this video. This has been Hybridsteel, and I want to say thank you very much to every single person so far that has supported this channel. If you haven't already, don't forget to hit the like, subscribe and notifications button below for all other updates, and I will see you all in another video, or whatever else I do on this channel. So peace out, have fun, and enjoy everything you guys do. Bye bye.